Hi students, this is Karimunisa Saya. Today we are going to learn few important and basic aspects of immunology. Those are the three lines of body defense. This is a standard disclaimer of our college that the content of this video lecture is useful for BSc Zoology students of our college to enable them to prepare themselves for the upcoming semester end examinations. So what is meant by immunology? So you know very well that the term immunology is derived from a Latin word immunitas, which means free from, referring to being free from the diseases. This term is used by Lucas M.A. way back in the year 39 AD. And so this particular word immunology is derived from the word immunitas, and it refers to the immune system in the body of an organism. So immune system is the system, very useful, just like any other system of the body, like digestive system or the respiratory system. But this immune system keeps the body free from the infection. So here, I like to mention that being free from the diseases definitely does not mean being healthy, because there's a different definition for health given by the WHO, which not only means that it is a physical health. Health refers to the mental, physical, and also social well-being of the person. So thereby, being free from the infections or the diseases does not mean health. So thereby, under immunology, we are going to study only about the structure and function of immune system. And what will happen if there is an absence of an efficient immune system. So in the absence of an efficient immune system, pathogens, they overtake the body of man, animals, and other plants also. And they may get affected by the diseases like AIDS. For example, in the case of humans, the acquired immunodeficiency syndrome is caused by a virus called immunodeficiency virus, so which causes, of course, death, particularly not because of the virus. The humans or the man is not going to die of the AIDS, rather he's going to die because of the other infections like tuberculosis. So what I mean to say is that immunology refers to being a system, or in the immunology we are going to study about the system that is called the immune system, which is going to keep our body free from the diseases, and what is its structure and what is its function. So immunology deals with our precious defense system called immune system that protects us from a number of life-threatening micro-parasites such as viruses, bacteria, fungi, protozoans, and also from macro-parasites such as trematodes, cestodes, nematodes, and also other arthropod insects. So now we know what is meant by immunology. Now let us understand, as per the syllabus, what are the different lines of defense mechanism. These are the basic three lines of defense mechanisms. So again, naturally in nature, there is no such demarcation between the different lines of defense mechanism. Just our easy understanding and also make it more easy to study, we are dividing the immune system into three basic lines of defense. So these three basic lines of defense are accordingly named as first line of defense, second line of defense, and also third line of defense. But the first and second line of defense together, we call it as a innate immunity, whereas the third line of defense is also called the adaptive immunity. So these three basic divisions we can compare to that of the three divisions of, say, Indian Army, where we have land army, we have the navy system, and also we have the air force. Similarly, we are just trying to divide it. Then what is meant by the innate immunity? So innate immunity means it is the inherent ability or the ability of the individual with which he is born to fight against the diseases. But this particular immunity, inherent immunity or the innate immunity, is highly non-specific defense mechanism. That means we are all born with a very broad spectrum of ability with varieties of defensive cells which will help us to fight against varieties of pathogens. So it is not at all specific. Another important feature of this innate immunity is that the time required to react or to show the response is very, very less, what we call the lag period. So lag period ranges from 0 to 12 hours. That means if a person gets infected by the pathogens in the morning, by night, he will be free from those infections. Similarly, in the night, suppose the pathogens try to enter the body of an individual, by morning, he will be free and fresh from the disease-causing microbes. So that is the ability of our innate system, that is the immune system. Similarly, during our lifetime also, we may acquire because of our continuous confrontation with the various types of pathogens. That means the pathogens, they try to enter into our body continuously, and suppose if these pathogens happens to be new pathogens, that means the body is confronting them for the first time. So obviously the body takes more time to react or to show the response to this immunity or the pathogen. So thereby the lag period will be quite high. So it may ranges minimum 1 day to sometimes 1 week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks and 4 weeks, depending on the nature of pathogen. So somehow during our lifetime also, we are going to acquire the immunity. That's why it is called the adaptive immunity. So under the third line of defense, we are going to study exclusively about the adaptive immunity. Now let us come back to our basic discussion and let us learn first what is meant by innate immunity, what is its structure and function. So structurally, as you see here, the first line of defense includes the skin, which is the covering membrane of the whole body of humans and also all other organisms, mucous membranes which are covering the openings of the body, hair which is present on the skin and other openings of the body, particularly in the nostrils, cilia which is present in the upper respiratory tract, urinary tract, and the expulsion of urine, perspiration, that is sweating, secretion of saliva, secretion of HCl in the stomach, and also the secretion of sebum, that is the ear wax in the ear openings. So all these structures, they form the first line of defense mechanism. So this is a basic mechanism with which the microbes have to fight against so that they can gain the entry into the body. Then coming to the second line of body defense mechanism, which includes, so suppose the pathogens, if they try to cross the first line of defense, obviously they enter into the blood of the individual. Suppose if the skin gets damaged or if the tissues gets damaged, obviously the pathogens, they gain entry into the second line of defense, that is nothing but the cellular particles and also the plasma proteins which are present in the blood. So obviously the pathogens, they try to enter into the blood. So thereby naturally we are born with a special type of cells. We all know very well, they are called the WBC cells, and also various plasma proteins which are present in the blood. They will help us to fight against the pathogens. Then comes the third line of defense. As I just told you, during our lifetime also, we'll try to identify, that means our body will try to identify the new pathogens. That's why these days the coronavirus, which has entered for the first time the human body, it is called the novel coronavirus. So when new pathogens try to enter into the body during our lifetime also, will try to develop a third type of immunity that is called adaptive immunity. So in the adaptive immunity, two types of lymphocytes called B lymphocytes and T lymphocytes, they play a very important role to kill the pathogens or to fight against new types of infections. So let us come back to the main studies of first line of defense. As I told you just now, skin forms the important, again for our easy understanding and convenience, we are trying to divide the first line of defense into three subheadings. That is, first line of defense consists of physical barriers, it will have chemical barriers, it will also form biological barriers. Now let us see what is meant by physical barrier. So you know that the whole body of the organism is covered by skin, and skin in turn is made up of stratified epithelium, which forms the upper epidermis layer of the skin, so which is highly protective, because we know very well that in between the epithelial cells there is no intercellular space, so thereby nothing can enter through the epithelial cells of the skin. So thereby it acts as a powerful physical barrier preventing the entry of pathogens. But in the case of only broken, infectious or hurt skin, there is every possibility of entry of pathogens into the body. That means as such we are all born with this physical ability or the physical barrier called skin, which is highly protective because it acts as a mechanical barrier against the infections, as I told you, because of the many layers of epithelium which is also keratinized. So these superficial layers of epithelium, they will be deposited with a protein called keratin, so which will not allow the microorganisms to enter or penetrate into the skin. And we also know that skin therefore protects all our internal organs and tissues directly from the environmental pathogens. Then the skin, the nature of the skin is such that it not only prevents the entry of pathogen, it also provides a niche, a habitat for the survival of or for the multiplication of many non-harmful pathogens. So thereby these non-harmful commensal microbes, they also try to wade away or just to move away these pathogens, particularly the bacteria. Why? Because is in the presence of useful bacteria in the skin, the harmful bacteria will not be able to grow. That means they don't have the nourishment and also the shelter provided by the skin for them to grow. Another important feature of the skin is the presence of dryness, particularly the terrestrial animals, including humans. We have got relatively what we call the dry skin, which is not covered by mucus. So that means the skin which is dry also prevents the growth of the pathogen. That is the nature of the skin. So naturally we are born with the skin as a powerful physical barrier which is highly protective. Then apart from this, we also are born with lot of coverings which are exceptionally found in the openings of the body. Particularly we have majority of body openings in the head region. Those include the mouth, openings of respiratory system, nostrils, we have eyes, we have pair of ears, and also of course we also have anal opening and also urinogenital openings. So all these openings are also covered by epithelium, just like the skin. But here these openings also have the epithelium which will be secreting a mucus. That is the epithelial cells are mucus secreting cells. So thereby, so we are not only protected all over the body by the skin, our openings are also covered by the same epithelium, so which is again protective in nature. In what way it is going to be protected? Let us see. See, in most of the openings, particularly the respiratory channels and also urogenital openings. We have the epithelial cells provided with very thin, tiny hair-like structures called the cilia. So these cilia, they try to propel the pathogens which are trapped in the mucus. I told you in most of the body openings, we have the mucous epithelial cells. So obviously they secrete the sticky jelly-like substance that is called mucus, which will be having a protein called mucin. So because of which the mucus will trap the pathogen. It will not allow the pathogens to move through the openings, body openings. So thereby they will be stuck in the mucus. But they cannot be there for a long time. Otherwise they start blocking the all these openings, body openings. Thereby the cilia which are present in all these body openings, they try to propel these pathogens which got stuck in this mucus towards the pharyngeal cavity. So thereby usually you see a reflex action, that is sneezing or coughing, and without our knowledge, we try to swallow these pathogens, because once the pathogen enter into the stomach, they become non-harmful because they'll be killed by the acids of the stomach. So that is the reason why even you can see in the case of coronavirus infections, doctors and elders, they keep telling us to swallow hot water so that it keeps our pharyngeal cavity clean and healthy. Similarly, we also have the flushing of tears. So if something falls into our eyes, immediately the tears will come out. So they are trying to cleanse our eyes. Similarly, flushing of the urine through the urinary tract also acts as a first line of defense. Apart from this, you all must have seen we have the eyebrows and also eyelashes, but they are not the cilia. Of course, these are all special hairs, but these hairs also they try to prevent the entry of pathogens into our eyes. Of course, they are not cilia. Apart from this, in the oral cavity, as I told you, in the head itself, we have most of the openings, whether they are ear openings, or if something goes into eyes or into the nostrils, all these openings, they lead into ultimately one and only one cavity, that is called the oropharyngeal cavity. So in this pharyngeal cavity particularly, there is a posterior part of your mouth, inner part of your mouth. We see there are three pairs of special lymphoid structures. These are nothing but crypts of epithelium having lymphocytes, stored lymphocytes. So these are called tonsils. There are three pairs of tonsils. One pair of tonsils, as you can see here, they are present on the roof of the oral cavity, and in the floor of the oral cavity, particularly in the root of the tongue, we have pair of lingual tonsils. Apart from that, we also have palatine tonsils on the dorsolateral surface of this posterior oral cavity or the pharyngeal cavity. And particularly, these tonsils, just because they are having the stored lymphocytes, they try to provide the first line of defense, because you know that whatever infections or pathogens they try to enter into our body through the openings of the head, they will be confronted in this particular part of the body. And thereby you can see, whenever the person is hale and healthy or normal, that time these tonsils, they will not be having any inflammation, they don't show any swelling. But in the case of infection, what will happen is that the pathogens, they'll be trapped by these tonsils, and the lymphocytes, they try to fight and they try to kill these pathogens. Thereby you can see the inflammatory reaction. That means there you can see the swelling. That is why whenever you try to visit the doctor, first and foremost thing, they'll ask you to show your mouth, particularly the posterior pharyngeal cavity. So thereby you can see that the tonsils these are the location of the lingual tonsils in the root of the tongue. So these tonsils, they also act as the first line of defense mechanism. And the most important thing, because nowadays we are going through a very important global crisis, that is the corona crisis. I want to mention here something about the upper respiratory tract and lower respiratory tract. As I told you just now, the upper respiratory tract is very, very important here. Why? Because is you can see we have many openings of the body in the head region, that is nasal opening, mouth, the openings of the ears, that is the external ears. So all these openings, some of them are directly connected to the pharynx region here. So we have to try to keep this pharynx region hale and healthy by regularly gargling our mouth with the salt water, and also by regularly sipping a very hot water, particularly, or the hot the drinks, whichever we like. So thereby we'll try to prevent the entry of pathogens into the lower respiratory tract. But of course, even in the lower respiratory tract, we have mucociliary system. Continuously without our knowledge, whenever we respire, lot of pathogens and dust particle, they try to enter into our respiratory tract also in day-to-day life. But still we are quite healthy. Why? Because is the cilia, our mucociliary system is trying to help us to propel these particles and microbes which are trapped in the mucous layer to the pharynx. So from the pharynx region, these materials, usually pathogens, they will be swallowed into the digestive system. So we have come to the end of physical barriers. For our, again, convenience, we'll try to enter into the first line of defense in terms of chemical barriers. Chemical barriers are nothing but all the secretions or the fluids which are secreted by the skin and also the mucous membranes. They also protect the individual from the pathogens, and thereby they also act as a first line of defense mechanism. So here the chemical barriers, basically they provide the conditions that are not at all suitable or hospitable for the growth of the harmful microbes. So thereby they will be get killed immediately or at once. Why? Because is the pH of the skin is slightly acidic. So thereby it prevents the entry and also the growth of the pathogen. Similarly, the skin secretes lot of salts. You know, in our sweat, we have a lot of salts. So these salts, they also inhibit the bacterial growth. Similarly, in the skin, we have special glands called sebaceous glands. So these are nothing but the oil glands. They secrete the oil. So this oil also inhibits the growth of bacteria and also the fungi. Similarly, we have a lot of mucus secreting membranes in the openings of the body and all along the canals, which lead from these openings, they lead into number of canals in the body. All these canals are also lined by the mucous membranes, just like digestive system or the alimentary canal. We also have urinogenital canal. We also have reproductive tracts. We also have respiratory tract and also respiratory surfaces. So all these membranes, they produce mucus which traps the pathogens. Not only that, the mucus also contains an antibody IgA. So this immunoglobulin A, which is a powerful antibody, prevents the entry of viruses and bacteria by directly attaching to them and immobilizing them. So thereby we are protected. Similarly, in all the secretions of the body, we also have special enzymes which are called lytic enzymes or proteolytic enzymes or proteolytic peptides. These are specifically called beta defensins, which are secreted by the surface epithelial cells, all the cells. Apart from that, the epithelial cells which are present in the endodermal region of the intestine, they have the capacity to produce another group of defensins. These are the lytic enzymes called alpha defensins. These enzymes are also, just because they are lytic enzymes, they try to degrade the wall of the bacterium and also the viruses in a usual cases, just because these enzymes are lysozymes. So these are the enzymes of the lysosomes of the cells. That's why they are called lysozymes. And to quote an example, we have the phospholipase A2 in the breast milk of the mother. In the tears also we have this enzyme, and also in our saliva we have this phospholipase A2, which is a powerful lyser, which helps in the breakdown of cell wall of bacterium. So apart from that, we know that if any particle enters into our stomach, because the wall of the stomach, particularly we have studied the oxyntic cells of the wall of the stomach, they secrete HCl. So HCl, which is having pH as low as 2, that means we have highly acidic fluid in our stomach. So thereby none of the pathogens will be able to survive there. That is the reason why even in the case of corona, it is advisable to sip hot water very often, so that even if there are some pathogens, even if some virus is there in our upper respiratory system, it will enter into the stomach and there it will be destroyed. Similarly, in our tears also, we have the lysosomes, the lysozymes. Those are the enzymes which will be degrading the bacterial cell wall. And in the ears also, you all must have commonly observed this, that there will be continuous secretion of what we call the ear wax. Actually, it is the cerumen, so which will try to block or trap the microorganisms, and it will try to kill them. Similarly, the flushing of the urine, particularly through the lower urinary tract, keeps the tract sterile and also acidic, because urine as such is sterile and acidic in nature. Similarly, the sperms contain compounds that act against the bacteria. So also the semen contains the beta defensins and also the zinc, which will help us to fight against the pathogen. Similarly, the vaginal secretions are also acidic in nature, so thereby they inhibit the growth of fungi and bacteria in the female reproductive tract. So all these structures we study under the chemical barrier, which comes under the first line of defense mechanism or the first line of body immunity. Coming to the third portion, that is biological barrier. So within the urinogenital tract and also in the gastrointestinal tract and also on the skin, we have number of useful commensal microbes and bacteria. They will serve as biological barrier by competing with pathogenic bacteria, for food and space. So these commensal bacteria, how do they do that? They try to change the pH or the availability of minerals like iron particularly to the pathogens. So thereby the pathogens, they fail to multiply. That means they make that habitat or the conditions of the habitat not suitable or unsuitable for the growth of the pathogens. So thereby it is always advisable, particularly if the person falls sick, or the elders also, they keep telling us to consume the yogurt. Why? Because the curds and yogurt, they have very useful bacteria, that is the lactobacillus, which helps us to restore the healthy balance of microbial population in the intestinal tract, particularly when there is an infection. So thereby the useful bacteria, they recolonize in the intestine or gastrointestinal tract, so that the harmful pathogens, they fail to multiply. So this is again, I like to mention here that without our knowledge, we are harboring nearly 500 different types of such useful bacteria in our digestive system. So with that, we have come to the end of study of first line of defense. In a nutshell, we are all born with inherent ability in form of skin and its secretions, protecting our whole body and also the body openings. So ears, they protect themselves, the ear openings, they are protected by the secretion of cerumen. Eyes are cleansed by the production of tears, so which prevents the bacterial growth. Similarly, the nasal cavities, they have the hair and mucus which will trap the microorganism. Similarly, skin is impervious to all the pathogens. It will not permit anything to enter. We have the urethra, through which the urine flows very often. So thereby it keeps the urinary tract clean. We know that anus is also covered by mucous membrane, which will trap the pathogens. Vaginal secretions are also acidic, keep the vagina clean. Similarly, in the stomach, there is a secretion of HCl, and in the respiratory tract also, we have mucus and also mucociliary system. And in the mouth also, we know that there will be a lot of mucus and also saliva secreted in the mouth, which will keep our mouth clean and free from pathogens. Now we have come to the end. At the end, these are some of the possible questions which can be asked in the first line of defense. I hope you all have followed what is meant by first line of defense. Now you are in a position to answer the simple questions like write a note on mechanical barriers in the body defense system, or explain the role of commensal microbes in the body immunity. The third question is what is chemical barrier in the immunity of body. And the last probable question will be the essay type of question, that is briefly discuss the first line of body defense. I hope this is useful for the students of BSc Zoology. Thank you.